UFC 311 is in the books, and what a way to start off the year it was. Islam Makhachev defended his title against Money Moicano. Comes as no surprise given the last minute notice of this fight from Moicano, the huge step up in competition. These guys just weren't on the same level. It was a very good replacement fight, all things considered, for such a last minute notice of Arman Tsarukyan pulling out due to a back injury. But it's no surprise that Islam Makhachev has defended his title now for the fourth time, breaking the record for the lightweight division. Merab Dvalishvili shocked a lot of people in the co-main event by defeating Umar Nurmagomedov. This is the first time Nurmagomedov has lost in their professional MMA careers, which is honestly quite impressive. Obviously, they're a dominant family, and Umar Nurmagomedov is definitely still a future UFC champion. It just wasn't his night. Merab Dvalishvili has really shown why he's called the Machine and has really established himself as one of the greatest bantamweight fighters of all time, if not the greatest. And Yuri Prochazka, pulled off an upset victory over Jamal Hill in what was a very exciting fight. Yuri Prochazka won performance of the night honors. But what's next for these fighters? It's the day after, and we had such a fun time watching these guys. We want to know what's next for them. It's kind of selfish. These guys definitely deserve the break, but it's part of the sport, and we want to see more of them. So for Islam Makhachev, I think he's probably in the one of the more interesting guys following UFC 311 now. His future's a little bit uncertain. He's definitely, he's definitely worthy to move up to 170. Those champ status. I think we've kind of decided as a collective, fan base that we're no longer really fans of those. When Ilia Topuria said that he wanted to move up to 155, people were kind of hesitant. People were praising Pantoja, for saying that he wants to stay in his division and what he's done for the flyweight division. So I think, we've kind of decided that we want to see fighters just kind of stay in their own divisions, which is, fair enough. The champ status has tended to get a little old, or, fighters have been rushed to that status who aren't necessarily worthy of that. But Islam Makhachev has beaten everybody in the lightweight division. The thing is, he's very close with Belal Muhammad. They train together. He's really not going to step up to 170 and fight Belal Muhammad. At least I don't think he will. He doesn't seem too interested in that. He wants to fight at 170. I think if Belal loses, he's going to do that. He's going to see what happens with Belal and Shavkat before he makes that decision of moving up to 170. But I think that's, I think if Belal loses, it's very likely Islam Makhachev moves up to 170 and leaves the lightweight division. If not, I think, Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev was a really interesting fight. And it still is a really interesting fight. That first fight was really entertaining. Arman Tsarukyan was only 21 years old. He's much improved now. But, in terms of skill set wise, Arman Tsarukyan is probably the only guy in the lightweight division who has a chance of beating Islam Makhachev. However, Dana White said that after UFC 311, that Arman Tsarukyan is going back to the drawing board. That fight's not automatically going to get rebooked. I don't think he's happy with Tsarukyan for pulling out on such short notice. And keep in mind, UFC 300, he beat Charles Oliveira. They offered him the opportunity to fight Islam at UFC 302. He declined. He got suspended for assaulting a fan afterwards. This is a lot of stuff behind the scenes with Arman Tsarukyan that I don't think the UFC are too happy about. So who's next in line to face Islam Makhachev if it's not Arman Tsarukyan in the lightweight division? And that's Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira won the number one contenders fight at UFC 309 between him and Michael Chandler that put him in the upper position where, he was going to fight the winner of UFC 311. And, has that changed now? I don't think it really has. I know Arman didn't get to fight Islam as number one contender, but, I think They want to. Maybe they don't trust Arman now, and he's a little less reliable. And I think they would probably go towards Charles now in this situation, which would be definitely I think it would be a more interesting fight this time around. I know people didn't love that first performance at UFC 280. Islam Makhachev really made that fight look easy. I don't think that was the best version of Charles Oliveira. I think the best example of that is UFC 302 between Dustin Poirier and Islam Makhachev. Now, Dustin Poirier probably gave Islam Makhachev one of the toughest fights of his career. And then look at what Charles Oliveira did to Dustin Poirier. The best version of Charles Oliveira has a very good chance against Islam Makhachev. Not that he's going to beat Islam Makhachev, not that I favor him in that fight. I think the best version of Charles Oliveira gives Islam Makhachev the toughest fight of his UFC career. So that's who I think is going to be next in line for Islam Makhachev. However, Ilia Topuria was the first person to call him out. The first person to call out Islam Makhachev following his victory on Saturday. And, Arman, he really can fight for this position here. As they're talking about in the UFC postgame show, Channel 7 was just saying, hey, that was my fight. I was hurt, but I still want this fight. But Ilia Topuria has, he really believes he can beat Islam Makhachev. He wants that fight. And, that he has that Georgian wrestling background, that Roman Greco wrestling background that Merab Dvalishvili has. His striking, he's probably the best technical striker, at least best technical boxer in all of MMA. So he has a really interesting case for this Islam Makhachev fight. And yes, he hasn't really accomplished everything at 145 that we would like him to for him to get that double champ status. But right now, you're looking at Charles Oliveira as the best option for Islam Makhachev, and that's someone that Islam Makhachev has already beaten. I still think it's going to be Charles Oliveira, but I think Ilia Topuria has this opportunity now, especially with Merab Dvalishvili beating Umar Magomedov and seeing that those guys from Georgia have the ability, they have the grappling and wrestling background that can give them trouble. We haven't really seen Ilia's wrestling at the highest level yet. He's been such a dominant striker in his time in the UFC. I mean, he's such a good boxer. He's the best there is. He's the best I've ever seen in the UFC in terms of his boxing skills. And he can put on a performance here against Islam Makhachev. I think he's capable of beating Islam Makhachev. I really do. Islam gets clipped. He gets clipped a lot more than Khabib ever did. He's a little bit more human, and he is beatable. I don't know if anyone at 155 can beat him. I think maybe someone at 170 probably can. I think it's probably going to take someone with attributes. But Ilia Topuria has a chance to give Islam Makhachev a very, very difficult fight. And, Ilia Topuria is quickly becoming one of the fastest rising stars in the UFC. I think he's becoming the face of the company. I think in 2 years he will be the face of this company. And, maybe even by the end of this year, I think that Ilia Topuria Islam Makhachev is a fascinating fight to make. I just don't know if Ilia has quite earned that shot just yet. So I think the next time we see Islam Makhachev in the octagon, he'll be across from Charles Oliveira, and it'll be a rematch of UFC 280. And maybe Oliveira can regain his title, but he has to be a lot better than he was at UFC 280, and I think he will be, and I think it's very reasonable to expect that he can be better. Just will it be enough? Islam Makhachev is likely the greatest lightweight of all time. But yep, I think the fight that we're going to see, again, to conclude things, is going to be Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, and I think we'll probably see it maybe around June. Thank you for watching.